White C mocked the janitor's voodoo herbs. Until his daughter fell deathly ill and he knelt, begging the janitor to save her. The rain was pouring down, lightning rang through the Johannesburg night again and again. The water lashed the earth like a whip, muddy streams rushing down the slopes, flooding the edges of the slums, a forgotten corner of the city, made of tin shacks, plastic sheets, and piles of old tires. Inside one of these rusted metal doors stood a man in blue work clothes, band. He had just lit a small bundle of dried herbs, the faint bitter scent filling the air. It was imfafo, what the Zulu people called holy grass. Burning it was meant to cleanse the space, to drive away evil spirits. Softly, he whispered the names of his ancestors, praying for peace. Suddenly, there was a violent banging at the door. Open up. Please. Band. Please open the door. The voice was Hoa RSA, desperate, and white. Band opened. The door in Ba recognized the man before him, Mark Williams, the CEO of the multinational pharmaceutical company where he worked. The man was kneeling in the mud, his expensive suit filthy, his tie crooked, his hair plastered to his forehead. Rain streamed down his face, impossible to tell if it was just the storm or TRS. Band, save my daughter, she's dying, I am begging you. Mark's voice trembled, his hands pressed into the mud, forehead and ERLY touching the ground. Band didn't help him up right away. He just watched, his eyes deep as the night. 3 seconds of silence felt like 3 years. You said, Van finally spoke, his voice low but clear. My herbs were voodoo witchcraft jungle superstition. Mark jerked his head up, eyes full of regret. I was wrong. I was completely wrong. I shouldn't have mocked you. I shouldn't have called you unscientific in front of everyone. But now Emily, she's only 6. The doctors say she might not make it through the night. Rewind 12 hours. Morning sunlight glittered off the glass walls of Novi Confa RMA Group headquarters routers. Mark Williams, in his tailored suit, coffee in hand, strode confidently toward the elevator. He was one of South Africa's most successful white businessmen, his company worth billions, their new cancer drug Neocure about to launch worldwide. At the end of the hall, Band was mopping the floor. Slow, deliberate movements, his work clothes pinned with a small herbal sachet. His amuthi, a cha rm made of mixed plants, said to ward off sickness and bad luck. Good morning, Mr. Williams, Band said with a smile. Mark glanced at the sachet and frowned. Band, you're bringing this witch medicine to work again. Company policy, no superstition in the workplace. Band stayed calm. It's not superstition, sir. These are reherbs passed down from my grandmother. They purify the air. Protect health. Mark snorted. Oh, really? He turned to his assistant. Here, that purifies the air. We've got HEPA filters 1,000 times better than his bundle of weeds. The assistant gave an awkward laugh, saying nothing. But Mark kept going, louder now. You Africans and your superstitions. Ancestor spirits, witch doctors, herbal nonsense, all lies. Modern medicine is the only truth. You're a janitor, Band. Stick to mopping floors and drop the voodoo. You'll scare the clients. Band's grip on the mop tightened, his knuckles whitening. He didn't argue. Just lowered his head and kept working. The scene didn't go unnoticed. Black security guardias, cleaners, some shook their heads, some sighed. In this building, white executives could mock black culture freely, while black workers stayed silent. Lunchtime, company cafeteria. Mark sat with his executives, discussing Neocure's progress. We used cutting-edge gene sequencing. Chief scientist Lisa van der Merwe said. Pure Western medicine. Zero error. Mark smirked. That's the power of science. Not like some people, burning grass and chanting spells straight out of the Stone Age. Then his phone rang. His wife, Lisa. Mark. Emily's burning up. 39 degrees. She's convulsing. I'm taking her to the hospital. Mark's face paled. He bolted up. Excuse me. He rushed out, completely missing Band standing by the kitchen door, holding a bowl of freshly brewed herbal tea meant for his grandson's cold. Private hospital, VIP room. Emily lay in bed, face flushed, breathing ragged. Monitors screamed a la RMS. Doctors huddled, grim-faced. Viral encephalitis poisoning, some new immune reaction. The lead doctor shook his head. We've run every test. No answers. Antibiotics, fever reducers, nothing's working. She's critical. Mark clenched his fists. He couldn't believe it, the best hospital, the most expensive equipment. And they couldn't save his child. Then it hit him. He spun to the nurse. Could it be poisoning? What did she eat today? Just milk and bread, the nurse said. Mark's phone buzzed. A company email, Neocura clinical trials successful. Launching globally in 6 months. He read at the screen, then at his daughter's pale face. The irony choked him. He could make a drug to save thousands, but not his own child. In his despair, he remembered mocking Ban that morning. Herbs purification, he muttered. He sprinted out, pulled up the employee directory, found Ban's address, Soweto, Zone 17, Shack 34. If those herbs actually work, he thought. Even a 1% chance. He drove into Soweto. The deeper he went, the narrower the roads, the shabbier the homes. Food kids ran through the dirt, elders sat in doorways. The air smelled of wood smoke, dust, something faintly rotting. He found Shack 34. Knocked. The door opened. Band. Looked stunned. Mr. Williams, what are you doing here? Mark stammered. My daughter's sick. Really sick. The doctors can't help. I thought maybe your herbs could. Ban stayed silent. Money's no issue. Name your price. Mark begged. It's not about money, Ban said quietly. This morning, you called it superstition. Now you're here. Mark's head dropped. I was wrong, so wrong. I shouldn't have mocked your culture. Please save Emily, she's 6, I can't lose her. Ban studied him, eyes unreadable. He thought of his father, the herbalist white doctors had thrown out of hospitals, who'd said on his deathbed, they'll never understand. Our medicine comes from the land and the ancestors. I'll try, Ban finally said. But 3 conditions. Anything. First, drop your arrogance. Respect our knowledge for real. Done. Second, apologize to every black employee you've insulted. Done. Third, if this works, you involve my people in the research. No stealing it for profit and forgetting us. Mark hesitated, then nodded. How road we are. Ban went inside, returned with a small cloth bundle. Inside, RK brown roots, faintly fragrant. Ocanyo. Passed down 7 generations in my family. Can't use it realistly, has to be the right time, with the right prayers. He got an MARKCAR, back to the hospital. Late night, hospital room. Ban lit Impafo, chanting low Zulu hymns. He ground the Ocanyo, mixed it with water, refully dripped it into Emily's mouth. Mark and Lisa watched, tense. 1 minute. 2. The monitors still screamed. Nothing. Lisa sobbed. Then Emily coughed. The fever monitor's numbers began to drop. 38.5, 38.0, 37.6. Fever's breaking, a nurse gasped. Mark collapsed to his knees, weeping. Ban rested a hand on his shoulder. Don't cry. She'll recover. But the real sickness wasn't in her, it's in all of us. The invisible disease of pride and forgetting. He packed his things, turned to leave. Wait, where are you going? Mark asked. Home, Ban said. I've got work tomorrow. But, you saved my daughter. I just did what was right. Ban looked back, calm. Remember your promises. Or no medicine can cure a sick heart. He walked out, vanishing into the rain. Mark ran to the window, watching that figure disappear. Morning. The storm had passed. Mark drove back to Soweto, wanting to thank Ban in person. But when he knocked, the neighbor, an old woman, said, he's at church. Prays for everyone every morning. Black, white, rich, poor. Mark stood there, in front of that tin shack, then suddenly sank to his knees in the mud. Not to beg for medicine. But to repent. Finally, he understood, in this land, true civilization wasn't about who dressed fancier or made more money. It was about who was willing to bend down and listen to another. voice. And that janitor he'd mocked, he was the cleanest soul in the whole city. The morning sun slipped through the cracks of the tin shack in Soweto, spilling into Ban's Smolya Road. A few unassuming plants grew there, Mfefa with its sword-like leaves, Umlonyan with purple flowers, and the deep-buried roots of Ucanyo. Ban knelt in the dirt, gently checking the roots. His hands were rough, calloused, but his touch was soft, like he was stroking a child's forehead. These weeds, they really saved that white CS daughter. The old woman next door asked, squinting from her stool. Ban smiled up at her. The herbs don't heal. The HRT does. The old woman shook her head. But you used Ucanyo last night. That's a family secret. Never Shah read. Your father said misusing it brings a curse. Not a curse, Ban said softly. A duty. Ban grew up in a small village in KwaZulu-Natal. The mountains stood behind them, the rivers ran clean, and every family grew healing plants. His father was the only Sangoma, traditional healer, in the village, his mother, a midwife. When he was 5, dysentery swept through children burning with fever, dehydrated from diarrhea. A white doctor came in a jeep, with his medical kit and stethoscope. He gave injections, handed out pills. But 3 days later, the sickness only got worse. Your medicine doesn't work, the chief told the doctor. The doctor scoffed. Your hygiene is the problem. Drinking dirty water, eating raw meat. This is on you. Then Ban's father stepped 4-way road. Let me try. Under the moonlight, he gathered Mfefo and Umlanayan, boiled them with spring water, added a pinch of powdered Inyanibird bone, a symbol of purification. As the medicine simmered, he sang the ancestors' songs, calling on the EARTH and spirits for protection. The children drank. Slowly, the diarrhea stopped. The fevers broke. The villagers crowded around his father, calling him Guardian of Life. But when his father was invited to the town hospital to share his knowledge, the director humiliated him in front of everyone. We are a modern hospital, the man shouted, slamming his fist on the desk. We don't need witch doctors teaching us medicine. Your ways are superstition. Poison to progress. His father left in silence. He never stepped foot in that hospital again. 3 years later, police investigated him for illegal practice. No charges, but his spirit was broken. He died soon after. On his deathbed, he gripped Ban's hand. Son, our knowledge is treasure. But the world doesn't see it. Remember, herbs aren't magic. They're centuries of wisdom, the breath of the land, the voice of our ancestors. Don't let it die with you. Ban made it to the University of Cape Town, studied biology. He dreamed of becoming a scientist, proving the value of traditional herbs with modern methods. But after graduation, his resume went nowhere. Interviewers saw his name, he heard his accent, read son of a traditional healer in his notes, and their eyes changed. You believe in witchcraft? One white executive asked outright. I believe in the power of plants, Ban answered. That is witchcraft, the man said, closing the file. We deal in science here, not superstition. In the end, the only job he could get was as a cleaner at Novikon Fa RMA. Every morning at 5 a.m., he mopped labs, took out trash, scrubbed floors. But he never complained. In his free time, he watched the scientists, memorized equipment names, procedures. He even taught himself medical English, looking up terms on his phone. He made a discovery. Neocure, the company's cancer drug, had a core ingredient almost identical to Ucanyo. Both contained quasinoids, known for fighting inflammation and viruses. But Neocure was missing one key element. A root extract that only worked if harvested under a full moon and fermented with specific microbes. That sole ingredient was what made Ucanyo regulate the immune system, while Neocure just suppressed symptoms. They copied the body, Ban wrote in his journal, but left out the spirit. Emily's temperature stabilized at 36.8 degrees Celsius. Her breathing eased, color returned to her cheeks. The doctors were stunned. This makes no sense. Chief scientist Lisa van der Merwe sta read at the lab reports. Her viral load hasn't changed, but the inflammation's gone. That's not medically possible. May RK stood silent, but he knew Ban's herbs had done this. He called Ban. Emily's better. Thank you. Let me take you to dinner tonight, a proper thank you. Band refused. I don't need thanks. I need you to remember your promises. I remember. I'll apologize to everyone. Not just words, Band said. Action. Or this is just a temporary fix. Not a real cure. That night, Mark researched in his study, and what he found horrified him. Over 25% of modern medicines came from plants, many first discovered by indigenous peoples in Africa, South America, Asia. For example, quinine, from the South American cinchona tree, used for malaria, monopolized by European companies for a century. Vinblastine, a cancer drug from Madagascar's periwinkle, locals knew its power but never saw a scent. Hoodia, a South African desert plant that suppresses hunger, patented by Western firms, turned into diet pills worth billions, while the San people sta Ayurveda. His hands shook as he typed biopiracy. Thousands of articles popped up. One headline stabbed him: Novicon accused of stealing African herbal formula, and EARLY report on NeoCure, buried under trade secrets. A Rewe thieves 2. Mark slumped in his chair. Back home, Band lit Infofo, preparing a cleansing ritual. Using Eucaniaphor. An outsider required ancestral permission, or the balance would break. He placed the herbs in a clay pot, added spring water, set it under the moonlight. Softly, he sang Amadlozi, ancestors, the army I used to canyo to save a child, not for riches, not for fame, only justice, only peace. If this was wrong, guide me; if this was right, protect her. As he chanted, he almost saw his father's face in the moonlight, smiling. Then, a child's cry from next door. He rushed over. The neighbor's boy was feverish. Uncle Band, can you help? The hospital's too far, we can't afford. Band nodded. He brewed umlonianidia, fed it to the boy. Within an hour, the fever broke. You are Sangoma, the neighbor wept. Band shook his head. No. Just a cleaner who remembers his father's words. Back at Mark's house, his wife Lisa was still shaken. That black man, he's really just a janitor. How did he have such powerful medicine? Could it be a curse? She lowered her voice. I'd African witch doctors use herbs to control people, even kill. Mark snapped. That's insane. He saved Emily. Without him, she might be, but how? Lisa insisted. If science can't explain it, it's dangerous. We should report him, make him hand over the formula, let real scientists study it. That's theft. Mark shouted. That's his family's knowledge. We're the ones who stole from them, then called them unscientific. Their fight grew louder until Emily Ape read in the doorway, clutching a drawing. Mommy, Daddy, I dreamed of a black grandpa. He gave me this flower and said, don't be SCA red, the medicine is sweet. The drawing showed an old man under a tree, holding glowing herbs, his face kind. Mark and Lisa froze. Who was that? Lisa whispered. Mark's pulse raced. The man in the drawing looked eerily like Band's father. Late that night, Band wrote in his journal, herbs a rent. The curse pride is. When a white man kneels, he's not begging for medicine, he's begging for forgiveness, but forgiveness isn't one act, it's a lifetime of change. Emily is healed, but this country's still burning with fever. He closed the book, looked up at the stars. A shooting streak crossed the sky, like an ancestor winking. He knew, the real test was just beginning. Band walked through the narrow alleys of Soweto, carrying a bucket of water from house to house. The tap water here was always murky, and the government's promised clean water project never came. He used his homemade filter, layers of sand, gravel, and dried mfefa leaves, to purify drinking water for the children. Uncle Band, why are you so good to us? A Refoot little girl asked, looking up at him. He crouched down, patted her head. Because I remember, I was once a child running Refoot in the mud too. 10 years ago, Band worked at a platinum mine outside Johannesburg. It was the only job that would hire a black technician fresh out of university. His job was to monitor miners' health data, but he uncovered something shocking. Over 70% of them had black lung disease, coughing, struggling to breathe, their average lifespan relay 55 years. The company's safety measures, cheap masks and cough syrup. The doctors said, it's occupational. No cure. Band didn't believe that. He secretly collected saliva and blood samples, examined them under a Disque Right company microscope, and saw the miner's lungs clogged with black dust, toxic mineral particles from deep underground. He remembered his father's words, when the EARTH is sick, so are the people. He brewed eukaryotia, mixed it with honey, and gave it to the miners. Weeks later, some reported, less coughing. I can sleep at night now. Excited, he wrote a report suggesting the company fund resemblance into herbal adjunct therapy for black lung disease and submitted it to management. 3 days later, HR called him in. Band, you've crossed a line. You're a data clerk, not a doctor. Stop pushing your witchcraft into our operations. It's not witchcraft, he insisted. It's phytotherapy. It works. Works, the manager scoffed. We have a scientific medical system. Your herbs, we can't even identify their compounds. How do you prove anything? A week later, security raided his locker, claiming he was hazardous materials. They found a few bundles of herbs. He was fired for distributing unapproved medical products. On his last day, he saw a group of miners standing at the pit entrance, watching him silently. No words, just eyes full of gratitude and resignation. Back at Novikon Fa RMA, cleaning floors, Van didn't give up. While scrubbing labs, he memorized the NeoCure development process to extract plant compounds, quasinoids, synthesize in sterile lab. Add chemical stabilizers, clinical trials. But he noticed something, the whole process was done in a sterile environment, completely cut off from nature. Yet eukaryo's real power came from soil microbes, a specific root bacteria that only thrived at high altitudes, in symbiosis with Zulu mountain fungi. That bacteria activated the herb's immune-boosting properties, the missing sole ingredient. They took the herb out of the EARTH, he wrote in his journal, like pulling a fish from water and wondering why it can't swim. News of Mark's daughter's recovery spread through the company like wildfire. Employees whispered, the CS kid was saved by a janitor's herbs, so NeoCure is worse than some bush medicine. The BOA RD called an emergency meeting. Williams, have you lost your mind? The chairman ROA read. Letting a janitor interfere with medical decisions. If that child had died, the company's reputation would be, she lived, Mark. Cut in calmly. And her recovery proves our science has blind spots. Blind spots, chief scientist Lisa sneered. That's called coincidence. Spontaneous remission. Placebo effect. You can't dismiss modern medicine over one fluke. Not a fluke. Mark pulled out his phone, played a video, Emily's fever dropping on the monitor. Explain this data. Silence. Worse, the CFO muttered, the press has caught wind. The South African Times is running a headline, White Sea turns to witch doctor Fa RMA giant in crisis. Mark stood. I propose a traditional knowledge research unit. Bring Band in. Study eukaryo scientifically. Absolutely not. Lisa shrieked. He has no degree. No credentials. Letting him into a lab is an insult to science. Then explain, Mark challenged, why NeoCure failed Emily, but his herbs worked. No one answered. That night, Band found a note slipped under his door, in English, stop meddling. The herb formula belongs to the company. Interfere again, and you and your people will regret it. He read at the paper. This wasn't the first time. 5 years ago, he'd helped a journalist expose a multinational company stealing South Africa's Rooibos genes for patents. After the story ran, the reporter was fired. Band got 3 death threats. He went to the police. They said, no evidence. Case closed. In this country, he told his neighbor, a black life is sometimes worth less than a weed. Band flipped through his father's handwritten notes, yellowed pages in Zulu and broken English, listing herbs. Infofo, cleanses air, eases anxiety, repels insects. Unlanayan, reduces fever, fights viruses, boosts immunity. Eukaryo, balances immunity, heals body and mind, must be used with inner peace. Beside the sketches of plants, a note, power equals plant plus soil plus time of harvest plus user CRT. He whispered the words aloud, they only want the plant. They throw away the other 3. He thought of Ubuntu, the African philosophy, I am because we are we. A person isn't just a body, their family, community, ancestors, nature. Sickness isn't just a virus, it's imbalance. Healing requires ritual, story, song, community. Modern medicine breaks people into genes, cells, viruses, but forgets the soul and belonging. We don't lack science, Ben murmured to the STARS, we have a different science, the science of ecology, of connection. Mark didn't sleep. He dug through Neocura's archives, and found a buried colonial-era document. Zulu Herbal Survey 1953 Resay Urcher, J.U. Wilson, British, location, Bandeni Village, KwaZulu-Natal. Recorded Herbu Canyo for fever and mental unrest. Interviewed, Elder Sangoma, name not recorded, conclusion, unverified. Likely placebo. No Resay RCH value. At the bottom, a handwritten note, samples sent to London lab for analysis. Mark's pulse raced. He checked Neocura's patent timeline. The core compound was isolated in 1955. 2 years later. They stole the formula. Erased the name. Called it a Western breakthrough. He pictured man's father thrown out of the hospital. The miners coughing blood. The children in Soweto drinking dirty water. We weren't saving lives, he realized. We were stealing them. The next day, Mband attended a meeting at the community center. A 90-year-old Zulu elder spoke, leaning on his cane. Young ones, do you know why white men always want our herbs? The crowd shook their heads. Because they see the medicine, but not the root. They pluck the plant, take it to their labs, chop it, study it, copy it, but a plant without its root is dead. They get the body, but lose the spirit. He looked around. Remember where the roots are, in the soil, in the stories, in the ancestors' songs. Mband nodded. His father's tombstone read, he remembered. The names of the grasses. Late that night, Mband wrote in his journal, they don't fear are the herbs. They fear are the truth, that African wisdom was never behind. The only thing behind the eyes that refuse to see. Mark knelt. But the whole system still stands casting the shadow of arrogance over our light. He closed the book. In the distance, sirens wailed. Another black clinic raided, accused of illegal practice. He knew, this fight wasn't just for Emily. It was for every voice they tried to silence. Sunlight streamed into Emily's bedroom. She sat on her bed, crayon in hand, refully coloring a picture. In it, a black elder stood under a massive tree, holding glowing herbs, his face kind. The tree's roots dug deep into the earth, its branches stretching Tawa RD the stars. Daddy, she called out, looking up at Mark, I saw him again. Mark walked over, studied the drawing, and froze. The elder's face, the gentle, eyes. They looked exactly like the photos he'd seen of Mband's late father. Who was he? Mark whispered. He said he's the keeper, Emily said. He gave me the flowers and said, don't be red, the medicine is sweet, and he said when the tree is sick, people get sick too. Mark's hands trembled. This wasn't just a coincidence anymore. Mband took the drawing from Mark, his fingers tracing the elder's face. His breath caught. This is my father, he murmured, voice rely audible. The old woman next door peered at it. It is him. But he's been gone 20 years. How could the child dream of him? Mband stayed silent. In Zulu tradition, ancestors, Amadlozi, never truly leave. They speak through dreams, signs in nature, even animal behavior, especially when family knowledge is at risk, or when someone needs guidance. She didn't just dream of a man, Mband said. It's a warning. A warning about what? When the tree is sick. He looked Tawa RD the city skyline. I think she sees what we can't. That afternoon, Mband took Emily to meet an elderly Sangamain Soweto, a woman named Nokuthala. Nokuthala listened to Emily's dream, then closed her eyes. When she opened them, her expression was grave. This child has been given spirit sight. What she saw is the EARTH's wound. The EARTH's wound. Mark frowned. You white people only look at the surface, Nokuthala said. We look under, at the soil, the sky, the soul. A sick tree means poison roots. Sick people mean clogged hearts. Your daughter's illness wasn't just a virus. It was spirit imbalance, living trapped in a house with no birdsong, no EARTH under her feet, her heart full of toxic air. Mark froze. He thought of their mansion climate control, soundproof glass, SMART curtains. Emily Rely went outside, always glued to tablets and robot toys. So, Nokuthila continued, the herbs healed her fever. But the dream is the real diagnosis. The ancestors are saying, don't just treat the body. Treat the life. Mark's home, breakfast, nutritionist approved, suga are free, fat-free. Daily life, private tutors, piano lessons, English drills, every minute scheduled. Environment, sterile, silent, high-tech, but empty of laughter and soil. Ben's home, breakfast, pap, maize porridge, and beans, eaten together at a small table, talking. Daily life, kids watering plants, feeding chickens, listening to elders' stories after school. Environment, simple but crickets at night, birds at dawn. You have everything, Ben told Mark, but you're missing the connections to the land, to people, to ancestors. Suido night, ancestor ceremony. That weekend, Ben invited Mark's family to a community ancestor ritual. They gathered near a small grove, villagers sitting in a circle around a fire. Nokuthila led the ceremony. She sacrificed a white chicken, symbolizing purity, sprinkling its blood over herbs and soil, chanting ancient Zulu prayers. Amadlozi, our roots are called. We offer this clean sacrifice, protect this child, cleanse her spirit, chase away the bad air and forgetting. The villagers hummed along. Drums sta root, children dancing, simple moves, full of life. At first, Emily hid behind her mom. But when a girl her age took her hand, pulling her into the dance, she laughed, a real, unforced joy Mark hadn't seen in months. Daddy, she said, mid-dance, I feel like the rock in my heart is gone. Mark stood watching, eyes wet. For the first time, he understood, this so-called superstition felt more healing than any sterile hospital room. After the ritual, Ben noticed a black SUV parked at the alley's end, tinted windows, no plates. He noted the details, had a friend check, it was registered to a security firm linked to Novicon. That night, someone had dug up his backyard. Kanyagairden. Fresh footprints, seedlings ripped out. They're stealing samples, Ben told his neighbor. Call the police, the neighbor urged. Ben laughed bitterly. And say what? Last time, at the mines, the evidence vanished. He knelt, gently straightening the trampled plants, like soothing a hurt child. Back home, Mark tried explaining the ritual's power to Lisa. You've lost your mind, she screamed. A chicken blood sacrifice, that's not healing, it's brainwashing. It's culture. Mark shot back. Their way of understanding the world. Emily laughed. She felt better. Isn't that enough? That blood? Those chants. It's horrifying. Lisa trembled. We need to take her to a psychologist, make her forget these nightmares. They're not nightmares. Markroa read. They're her healing. Your science just gave her pills and FIA. Their fight raged on. Emily hid in her room, clutching the drawing. Whispering, old grandpa, please help mommy and daddy. Ben didn't sleep. He flipped through his father's notes, finding a warning about Ucanyo. This medicine must not be used lightly. If the user's heart is unclean, the medicine becomes poisoned. If the knowledge is stolen, the people will suffer. Before use, perform the soul cleansing ritual. Ask the ancestors' permission. Protect the spirit of the medicine. He understood now. Emily's recovery wasn't just the herbs. It was her pure heart, and the ritual's ancestral blessing. If the company copied Ucanyo without respect, without the ceremony, the medicine would lose its soul, maybe even turn harmful. I have to perform the ritual, he told himself. He contacted Nokuthila. They'd hold the soul cleansing at the next full moon, on a hill at Soweto's edge, once a Zulu warrior's lookout, a place close to the sky. What they needed, a white chicken, purity, Mfefo and Ucanyo roots. Mountain spring water, drums and bells. Who must attend? Mark, the one who made the promise, Emily, the one who was healed, Band, the Guardian. Nokuthila was firm, Mark must take rt in every step. Even kill the chicken himself. Otherwise, the ritual won't work. Can he do that? Band asked. He's a C. Never held a chicken, let alone then he needs to Leah RN, Nokuthala said. The cure for arrogance starts with kneeling in the dirt. The hill at the edge of Soweto glowed under the moonlight, a fire crackling at its peak. 4 faces stood around it, Band, Nokuthala, Emily, and Mark Williams, now dressed in a rough cotton shirt Band had given him. His hands shook slightly, like a student in his first lab. Ready? Band asked. Mark took a deep breath. Ready. Nokuthala began chanting, the drums pulsing like the EARTH's here beat. She tossed Imfafointo the flames, the bitter scent curling into the night. Tonight, we call the ancestors, she said, switching between Zulu and English. For this medicine, for this ERT, for this promise, we cleanse. Band lifted a white chicken, its feathers pure as snow. Mark, he said, you must do this. Or the ritual won't work. Mark read at the chicken, throat tight. He'd never killed anything, not even a fish. Whiny, he whispered. Because the arrogance was yours, Band said calmly. So the cleansing must be yours too. Nokuthala handed him a small knife, an ancestral blade, its handle red with Zulu symbols. Hold it, she said. Feel its weight. It's not a weapon. It's responsibility. Mark took the knife. The cold metal made him shiver. Like this. Band demonstrated, one hand gently steadying the chicken's head, the other drawing the blade swiftly across its neck. Clean. Respectful. No hesitation. Fast. Precise. With honor, he said. It gives its life for purification. We can't let it suffer. Mark closed his eyes, remembering his father teaching him to dissect frogs, his first scientific lesson. Now, those same hands would perform a lesson in faith. He opened his eyes, gripped the chicken. Its feathers were soft, while RMTH bleeding into his palm. I'm sorry, he whispered, and drew the blade. The chicken didn't struggle. Its eyes closed peacefully. Blood dripped into a clay pot, mixing with mountain spring water, turning the liquid faintly pink. Emily didn't cry. She watched solemnly, as if witnessing something sacred. Blood is life's symbol, Nokuthala said. We use it to wake the land's memory. Band dipped the Ukania roots into the blood water, murmuring a prayer. Yamadlozi, with this pure blood, awaken the medicine spirit. If this knowledge will be stolen, take its power back. If it will heal, bless its truth. I, Ben Kosi, by my father's name, by the ancestors' oath, Guard this wisdom, not for profit but for justice. In the firelight, the roots seemed to glow. Mark knelt, plunged his hands into the blood water. The RMTH, the stickiness, he'd never been so dirty, yet he felt strangely cleaned. Mark Williams, he said, voice shaking, swear this, if I break my word, if I exploit this medicine for greed, let the consequences fall on me. I will respect African wisdom. I will share knowledge fairly. Band and his people will be true foreigners. The wind died. The night went silent. A shooting star streaked across the sky, vanishing into the horizon. Nokuthala smiled. The ancestors accept. The next morning, Mark returned to Novikon and announced that African Wisdom Revival Project, with Band as lead traditional knowledge advisor. The BOA RD erupted. A janitor in our core lab, the CFOROA read. He doesn't even know how to use a microscope. He doesn't need one, Mark said. His tools are the land and the ancestors. This is blasphemy. Chief Scientist Lisa slammed the table. We follow GMP Standa RDS. We can't let witchcraft infect our process. Then explain, Mark said CLLY, Winiocure failed Emily, but his herbs worked. Coincidence. Placebo effect. Lisa insisted. Data isn't placebo. Mark projected Emily's fever and inflammation. RTS, your science can't explain it. That doesn't mean it's not real. The chairman's voice was icy. Williams, you're blinded by personal bias. You have 3 days, deliver a full Eucanio compound analysis and clinical report. Otherwise, the project ends. Band is fired. That night, Band got a text from his village elder, in Zulu. Band, come home, strange sickness here, 10 people feverish, unconscious. Doctors don't know the cause. Only a canyo can heal. But the herb Garden was destroyed. Only 3 roots left. Save us. Mban's heart sank. This wasn't just illness, it was the land's anger. When nature is violated, balance breaks. Disease follows. He called Mark immediately. I must go home. My people need the medicine. Mark didn't hesitate. I'm coming with you. We'll bring medics, clean water, ucanyo samples. What about the Boa Ardim band? Asked. Compa read to them. Mark said, I'm more afraid of kneeling in the mud again and failing to save anyone. At dawn, their convoy left Johannesburg's sleek streets, the roads now rowing, skyscrapers giving way to tin shacks, paved avenues to dust trails. Emily pressed her face to the window. Daddy, why don't they have houses? They have homes, Mark said softly. Just different from ours. 3 hours later, they reached Mban's village in KwaZulu-Natal. A faded sign at the entrance read, Mbandeni Village, water contaminated. Do not drink. Villagers crowded around, faces lined with exhaustion and hope. Mband. You're back. Help my son. Did you bring the medicine? Mband hugged them, murmuring reassurance. He handed the last 3 Ucanio roots to his mother, the village's other herbalist. Brew this. 1 spoonful each. Mark's medical team ran tests. The water report was grim, high levels of chromium and lead from a mining company's waste dumping upstream. It's linked to a Novicon subsidiary, the medic whispered to Mark. Mark felt like he'd been struck. He remembered the files, Novicon Resources Limited, their platinum and chrome mining branch. My company did this. He muttered. I'm the one who hurt them. Mban looked at him, not with blame, but gravity. Your father's sins aren't yours. But you must fix them. That night, Mban led a purification ceremony, burning infofo, calling the ancestors to cleanse the sickness. At the same time, Mark's team set up water filters, distributing clean supplies. As the Eucaniodia was drunk, patients began sweating, fevers breaking. By day 3, most could sit up. An old woman clutched Mark's hand, TRS streaming. Thank you. Finally, a white man who ceases. Mark knelt, forehead to the EARTH, I'm sorry I came too late. Late that night, Mban stood at his father's grave. Father, he rode not with EARS but with knees with TRS, with a journey across the divide. The medicine healed bodies, but the truth, that was the real cleansing. He looked up. Another shooting star streaked across the sky like an ancestor's wink. He knew, tonight's fire wasn't just for curing illness. It was for igniting something long forgotten, the light of respect. The morning sun rose over Mbandeni, smoke curling from kingfires. Villagers sat in the yard, sipping diluted Eucaniodia, their coughs quieter, their laughter louder. Children splashed in the stream, now clear are after the medical team's cleanup. Mark stood at the village entrance, watching the revived land with a heavy heart relief, shame, and a crushing sense of responsibility. We saved them, he told the medic. But the source is still out there. The mining company upstream, the medic nodded. They know they're poisoning the water. They've never fixed it. It's owned by my company, Mark muttered, like confessing a crime. Mban walked over, handed him a bowl of pap, maize porridge. Eat. The road ahead is how rider. Back in Johannesburg, Mark called the first official meeting of the African Wisdom Revival Project. Attendees, Mband, Traditional Knowledge Rep. Lisa van der Merwe, Chief Scientist, Novicon, R&D Director, Legal Counsel, Chairman's Representative. The tension was instant. We'll study Ucanyo, the chairman's rep said bluntly, but the company leads. Mband can be a cultural consultant paid hourly. Mband didn't blink. I'm not here for a paycheck. I want 3 things. First, the patent goes to the African Traditional Knowledge Trust. Second, 50% of profits fund grassroots African healthcare. Third, my people join the RESARCH, not watch from the sidelines. The room erupted. Ridiculous. Lisa scoffed. We invest billions in R&D. The patent must be ours. You invest money, Mban said. I invest 7 generations of wisdom, ancestors' lives. Without Ocanio, you wouldn't even know where to research. Your methods aren't scientific, the R&D director snapped. No double-blind trials, no data, just grandma said and tradition. How do we submit that to the FDA? Your data comes from dead cells, Ban countered. Ours comes from living people and land. You synthesize drugs in sterile labs. We observe healing in the wild. Which is more real? Legal counsel tried mediating. Compromise, the company holds the patent but creates a fund for African healthcare. That's righty, Ban said. Not justice. We want co-ownership, not handouts. In the lab, Lisa's team analyzed Eucania samples. Complex compounds, she frowned. Quasinoids, flavonoids, polysaccharides but unstable activity. Of course, Mark pointed out. Ban said it must be harvested at full moon and fermented with soil microbes. Microbes, Lisa sneered. We have sterile petri dishes. Why rely on dirt? She ordered a synthetic replication in a controlled environment. 3 days later, the pills failed. Zero effect on cells. Why? The R&D director panicked. Mark called Ban, can you come? Ban arrived with a jar of dirt, native soil from the Zulu Mountains. This is where the soul bacteria live, he said. Under the microscope, he showed them, reactinomycete, symbiotic with Eucania roots, secreting enzymes that activated immune-boosting compounds. Your lab is too clean, Ban said. Clean like a tomb. Life needs microbes, like lungs need air. He helped them build an ecochamber, replicating the mountain's temperature, humidity, soil. Letting the herbs grow and ferment naturally. A week later, the extracted Eucania showed powerful anti-inflammatory effects. Lisa was stunned. This can't be. The environment matters that much. Not can't, Mark said. We were just too arrogant to see it. The White Sea believes in witch doctors scandal kept spreading. At first, mainstream media mocked Novi Khan's voodoo crisis, the fall of a science giant janitor turned medicine god. African superstition strikes back. But when photos of Emily, healthy, smiling, planting herbs with Ban in Soweto, leaked online, the narrative shifted. Young activists launched #RespectAfricanWisdom, my grandma healed our family with herbs, called Backway Road. Ban just said it loud. Western medicine saved me, but Zulu herbs helped me sleep. Why can't both exist? Mark kneeling wasn't weakness. It was courage admitting he was wrong. A documentary crew filmed Bandeni's recovery, Eucanio brewing in clay pots, Nokuthala chanting, kids playing in the clean stream. This is real healing, the Voiceover said. Not pills. Water. Soil. Song. Ancestors' memory. Novi Khan stock dropped 15%. Rival firm Global Life Sciences smelled blood. One day, Ban got an anonymous email, an attachment, confidential offer buyout, exclusive rights to Ocanio formula price, $5 million cash plus 10% future profits condition, sign now, keep silent, they'll patent it first, Mark realized. Then sue us for infringement. Legal counsel Warren Ed, if they get samples, they'll gene sequence it, file a modified patent, legally steal it. Samples are resecure, the R&D director said. No, Mark checked security footage. We have a mole. That night, lab a la RMS blah red. Surveillance showed Lisa's assistant sneaking into the sample room, snapping photos of Eucanio extracts with her phone. The R&D director raged. She's selling us out. Confronted with proof, the assistant broke down. Global Life offered me 200,000 ran my daughter's tuition. You didn't just betray the company, Mark said coldly. You betrayed an entire continent's wisdom. She was fired, but the damage was done. The photos might already be sent. What do we do? Mark asked. Ban was silent a long moment, then looked at the stars outside. Release the full formula, he said. What? Mark was stunned. You'd just give it to them. No, Ban smiled. We use an open-source traditional medicine model, publish the recipe, but with conditions. Patent stays with the African Traditional Knowledge Trust. Any company using it pays 5% profits to African healthcare. They must respect harvesting rituals and ecological rules. That's a huge risk, Mark hesitated. Riskier than being stolen from, Ban countered. Trust protects wisdom better than fear. Band, the sickness is back in the village. His mother's panicked voice crackled through the phone, children wailing in the background. Worse this time, people lay recollapsing. We're almost out of Ucanio routes, Band's chest tightened. Outside his window, Johannesburg glittered with neon while hundreds of miles away, his village was drowning in darkness. I'm coming home. He hung up and dialed Mark immediately at dawn. Their convoy rolled into Mbandeni village again. This time, Mark brought everything, portable water testers, filtration systems, medical supplies and the last 3 precious Ucanio seedlings. The scene gutted them. Children convulsed on straw mats, lips blue with fever. Elders prayed in circles, eyes hollow with despair. Similar are to Emily's symptoms, the medic said, checking vitals, but more complex, like poisoning mixed with a virus. Ban knelt by the stream, SCPED murky. Green water into his palms. He lit a pinch of Infofo, the smoke curled over the water, tinged eerie yellow. The land's fury, he murmured. The poison's deeper now. Toxins and bad spirits fused, made a new sickness. The brutal truth water test results flashed on the tablet, chromium levels 40x over safe limits. Plus a new organic toxin traced to the mining company's efficiency upgrade, a chemical purification process. Mark's face drained of color. He recognized that report. He'd signed off on it. My decision. His voice shook. I approved it. I only saw profit margins. Never thought about villages downstream. Ban didn't scold. He walked to his father's grave, touched the weathered epitaph, he remembered the names of the grasses. Your father healed with herbs, Mark said behind him, broken. I killed with paperwork. How did I become the monster your father's sins? Aren't yours, Ban said, steady as the mountains. But you must change. Old wisdom meets new science, no time to waste. Ban led purification rites, burning Infofo, chanting ancestral prayers, while Mark's team installed water filters in every hut. Ucanio brewed again. Ban insisted, mountain spring water. Elders must oversee the ritual. Otherwise, the medicine spirit stays asleep. The first dose lowered fevers, but spiked back up. Not enough, Ban said. The sickness is in the water. A medicine alone can't purge poisoned air. His solution: a village-wide water cleansing ceremony. They diverted the filtered stream to the central SQUA. Families brought clay pots, poured water into a giant cauldron. Together, they boiled Ucanio and Umlanayan. We aren't just taking medicine, Ban told them. We breathe medicine. When the communal brew was served, miracles happened. Fevers broke. Breathing steadied. Collective belief activated the herb's power, the medic marveled. This defies medical textbooks. Chapters end. Night fell. A bonfire ROA read. Recovered children danced, laughter echoing off the hills. An elder gripped Mark's hand, TRS cutting through wrinkles, thank you. Finally, a white man who ceases. Mark's knees buckled. He pressed his forehead to the EARTH, forgive me. I came too late. By the firelight, Ban watched the STARS. A meteor streaked, like an ancestor's wink. Tonight's medicine wasn't just roots and water. It was science and faith, theft and redemption, white and black, HERT meeting HERT for the first real time. Global life sciences moved fast. The day after Ban published his Ucanio open source manifesto, they held a press conference. BRAKTHROUGH, African herb mystery solved. Their C announced. Unveiling Vita Rutex, a new immune-boosting drug based on cutting-edge science, zero dependence on primitive traditions. Worse, they'd already filed a patent, active ingredient lab synthesized. No traditional elements. They stole the formula and blamed us. The R&D director exploded. Mark called legal. Can we stop this? Doubt it, legal side. They tweaked the compound just enough to call it new. Plus he hesitated. Someone inside leaked the gene sequencing data. The betrayal evidence pointed to chief scientist Lisa van der Merwe. Security footage showed her emailing encrypted files to an offshore account linked to Global Life's adversary Boa Roden Mayark confronted her in his office. Why money or just to prove science always wins? Lisa denied it until he showed her the logs. Then she broke. My father was a colonial doctor, she whispered. On his deathbed, he said, African medicine is crude. Only Western science saves lives. I wanted to prove him right. But now she read at a Vita Roots ad playing on her phone. Look at it. It's hollow. It won't really heal anyone. You didn't just betray the company, Mark said. You betrayed Mban's trust. Africa's dignity. Lisa was suspended. But the real crisis hit next. Mban got a police summons. Shah Ridges, possession of endangered plants. Unlicensed medical practice. This is retaliation, Mban told Mark. They want me silenced. Mark's choice. The Boa Road issued an ultimatum, kill the African Wisdom Project. Denounce Mban as a fraud. Or the stock crashes. Mark stood at his window, watching Johannesburg's skyline. Memories flashed. Soweto's muddy streets. His vow at his father's grave. Emily's eyes fluttering open after drinking eukaryotia. That night, he made his decision. The press conference, redemption. Reporters packed. Novi Conchal. Mark stepped on stage. Behind him, a screen played footage of Mandeni village, kids splashing in the clean stream. Elders smiling over eukaryobrus. Mban kneeling at his father's tomb. I used to think science was the only truth, Mark began, voice steady. I mocked a janitor's herbs as voodoo. I was wrong. The room went silent. Real medicine isn't patents or profits. It's respect for the land. For ancestors. For wisdom we don't yet understand. He unveiled the evidence, Novicon's mining division pollution reports. Lisa's leaked emails. Global Life's a theft trail. We messed up. But progress starts by admitting that and changing. Then, the bombshell announcements shut down the toxic mines. $1 billion for environmental cleanup. Full support for Ocanyo open source. Profit SHA ring starts now. Rebrand as Ubuntu Life Sciences. I am because we are STA rooting today, Mark said, we're not takers. We're Guardians. Post-conference, Mark drove to Soweto. Rain drizzled as he reached Mban's door. He didn't knock. He knelt, just like the first time. But now, his back was straight. Mban opened the door, studied him. I'm not here to beg for medicine, Mark said. I'm here to apologize. And promise. Mban reached down, pulled him up. No need to kneel. We're equals. The rain stopped. Moonlight broke through, glinting off the Eucania ceilings in the RD. Bandeni village was transformed. The once murky stream now ran clear, its banks lush with Mfefo and Ucanyo. At the village entrance stood a simple community health center, its white walls painted in Zulu and English. Ubuntu Clinic, where tradition meets science. Under Mban and scientists' joint leadership, Ucanyo 1 completed clinical trials. It wasn't just an herb extract, it was ecological wisdom in a bottle, sourcing, grown in Zulu Mountain Eco Farms, harvested by villagers at traditional times. Fermentation, activated by native soil microbes in life pods mimicking nature. Formulation, refined with modern FA-RMA tech for safety and consistency. The results 70% plus efficacy against autoimmune diseases, like rheumatoid arthritis, chronic fatigue, with minimal side effects. It doesn't attack viruses, Band explained. It wakes up the body's own power, like the EARTH wakes a seed. Ubuntu Life Sciences pioneered the world's first traditional knowledge pact, patent ownership, held by the African Traditional Knowledge Trust, managed by Mban's community. Profit split, 40% to grassroots African healthcare clinics, training Sangamasto work with doctors. 30% to Resay Urchers, including Mban's team. 30% to conservation, protecting medicinal plants. Open science, all data public, inviting global collaboration. This isn't charity, Mark told the UN, it's justice. Wisdom has roots in the land. Returning it to the land is the only true sustainability. Mban now taught African plant medicine at the University of Cape Town. His classroom packed black and white students side by side. Remember, he said, pointing to the mountains outside, our grandmothers weren't superstitious. They were scientists testing thousands of plants over 5,000 years. Their lab was all of Africa. Young people really Aranet Zulu, Kosa, recording elders herb lore. Online, hashtag my grandmother was right trended globally. Emily, now 9, published a children's book, The Janitor Uncle and the Magic Herbs. Its pages showed Mban brewing medicine under the moon, with the line, he wasn't a cleaner. He was a guardian of life. On a sunlit afternoon, Mban stood at his father's grave. Beside it, a new stone marker read, for all who remember the names of the grasses. He laid down a bundle of infofo, whispering, Father, they finally he are. Not with EARS, with action. From the health center, children's laughter spilled out. A sick little girl sipped her medicine, then smiled at her mom, Mama, it's sweet. Mban looked up. The clouds stretched like ancestors' hands gently blessing this land, finally seen. Finally honored. Finally home. Mban's story, a wind across the world. Mban's story spread like the wind across Africa, then the globe. In Peru, an elderly Quechua chief read the Yucanyo open-source manifesto and wept. He gathered his people and released their ancestral maca root fatigue remedy, writing, wisdom belongs to the EARTH, not drug companies. In India, Ayurvedic doctors launched a traditional knowledge repatriation campaign, demanding corporations stop patenting turmeric, frankincense, and other herbs. They quoted Mban, knowledge has roots. Those who steal it will run out of medicine and morals. In Norway, a white doctor wrote in The Lancet, we called African herbs primitive. But when our antibiotics failed, whose wisdom showed the way? Mban's. The janitors we ignored. The Ubuntu model became a global blueprint. The WHO named it best practice in traditional medicine integration, rolling it out to 30 countries. Novicon's transformation, from plunder to protection. Ubuntu Life Sciences had changed completely, shut down all polluting mines, pivoted to clean energy. Hired indigenous advisors for every global lab. QR codes on drug packaging tracing village where herbs were grown. Ha investor's name, e.g., Mban Nkosi. Where profits went, e.g., clinic built in XX village. We're not saving Africa, Mark wrote in the annual report. We're learning how to be human. The companies. Stock SOA red, consumers voted with their wallets for science with a soul. International AWA RDS flooded in, global health hero, bridge of science and culture. Mban declined them all. The real prize, he said, is village kids drinking clean water, elders healing without fear. The only title he accepted, UNESCO Special Advisor for Intangible Cultural Heritage. At the PA-RIS podium, he wore no suit, just Zulu traditional dress, his father's herb pouch around his neck. Some ask, can ancient wisdom fight modern disease? He held up a glass of water. This is from Mandeni. 3 years ago, it was poison. Today, it heals. Why the room held its breath. Because we stopped worshipping test tubes, he said softly. An sta root listening, to the land's voice. To the ancestors' wisdom. To the truth, real science isn't conquering nature. It's humility. The applause lasted 10 minutes. Years later, under a full moon. Mban sat in his yard with Emily, now a med student, beside him. Uncle Mban, she asked, if you hadn't saved me would anything have changed? He smiled. Maybe Mark would still mock voodoo. Neocure would have launched. My herbs rotting in the mud. But why help him, she pressed. He was so arrogant. Mban gazed at the stars, my father taught me the worst sickness isn't fever. It's blindness to others' pain. The strongest medicine isn't herbs. It's the courage to let go of hate. Emily nodded, thoughtful. In the distance, the new Zulu Western Medical RCH Center glowed. Young doctors inside were testing a hybrid therapy, Eucania meets nanotech. Mban hummed an old Zulu hymn. The wind rustled through the herb Ga Rden, Ca rang the scent of Imfafointo the moonlight, like an eternal prayer, we remember. Therefore, we are